In addition to reading, I also absolutely love to play video games. And number one on that list is Nintendo. I'm a huge Nintendo fangirl and have been since the age of 4 when I first held that Super Nintendo controller in my hands. So today I am here with a brand new tag, and that tag is the Nintendo tag. Hi guys, it's Sam, and as I said in the intro, I'm here with a new tag. I am a big Nintendo fangirl, and I wanted to create a new book tag, so I did. It's the Nintendo book tag, and I am very excited to share it with all of you guys, and I hope everyone will do it, and especially those of you who are as big of Nintendo fangirls as I am, because Nintendo was such a big part of my childhood, and it's fabulous, and I loved it. So I have a series of Nintendo-related questions, whether it be the console or Nintendo, very famous Nintendo characters, and I'm very excited, so let us get started. First question is NES, Nintendo Entertainment System. What is a classic, because it's a classic console, that you want to read? One of the classics that I'm really wanting to get to this year is The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins. I read his Woman in White a couple of years ago and really enjoyed it, so I cannot wait to read this one because I heard it is just as good, if not better, than The Woman in White. Super Nintendo, or the SNES, a sequel that you liked more than the first book. It could also be a second book in a series. I am going to go with Rise of Empire by Michael J. Sullivan. So the third book is my favorite. The second book I liked even more than the first book because so much more happens. You get into so much more character development and everything really starts to come together and it's very exciting. So this one is just so good. Scepter Swords is excellent, but Rise of Empire is even better. Nintendo 64 is a book that revolutionized the way that you looked at the world, because when Nintendo 64 came out, it was pretty revolutionary. First game console with 3D graphics, and I remember being so excited when it came out. It was awesome. So a book that revolutionized the way I look at the world. I guess I'd have to say 1984. I read this when I was a freshman in high school, like a lot of people do in high school, but my little 14-year-old, 15-year-old self, it really kind of revolutionized the way that I look at the world, the role that government plays and society plays, and just everything in general, and how they kind of play into each other, and how people can play out people's fears in order to manipulate them, and just things like that. I just remember it kind of blew my mind when I read it, and it still sticks with me to this day. Next up is the Nintendo Gamecube, and this one is a book that was very popular but did not go over very well for you. A book that you didn't really like but everybody else did. For me, that is going to be Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I think I am one of the only people to not much care for it. I did like the second book a lot more, and so I do want to read the third book. But this one just did not live up to the hype I was expecting. People really were building up the series, but it kind of fell a little bit flat for me, and I wasn't the most impressed with it. The second book did get better, but for me, this one just did not go over so well with me. And finally, The Wii, a new favorite book. I'm going to go with The Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. I just finished this book last week, and it was phenomenal. Just as good, if not better, than the Farseer trilogy. It was a 5 out of 5 star read for me. The character development was perfect. The world building was perfect. Everything about it was perfect. Absolutely loved it to death. Definitely a new favorite. Next one is Nintendo Power. Yes, one of the best magazines to have ever existed, and I'm so sad it doesn't exist anymore, but that's okay. For this question, you have to choose a graphic novel series that is your favorite or a graphic novel series that you want to start. I'm going with the Chew graphic novel series by John Layman. I absolutely love this. It's very original, hilarious. It's just fabulous. Everything about it it's just, I don't know, it's just so original. And the artwork is super cool and quirky, and I cannot wait to get the rest of the volumes. I read the first 3 and I cannot wait to get the rest because it is fantastic. Next, I'm going into some of the Nintendo characters and classic Nintendo game series that are quite famous. The first one of which is Super Mario. For this one, name a character that you would have loved to squish like a Goomba. For me, that would have to be Kyle from the Ship of Magic book series. I hated Kyle. He is a male, chauvinistic, ignorant pig, and I hated him. He just messes everything up for everybody, and he's a jerk and a creep, and I could not stand him. He drove me nuts. So I would have loved to step on his head like Mario steps on a Goomba. Next up is Zelda, one of my favorite of Nintendo's franchises. This one, you need to name a newer fantasy series that you consider to be a modern classic. I'm going to go with The Gentleman Bastard series by Scott Lynch. Absolutely love these books. They're so original, so witty, so well done. The way that he weaves the story together, he has so many different threads, and then he just knits them all together at the end of the book, and it is fabulous. It's full of so much humor, adventure, wit is just fantastic, and I definitely consider this to be a modern classic. Next is Samas-Aran. For this one, you need to name your favorite sci-fi novel, or if you don't read too much sci-fi, then a sci-fi book that you would love to start. I'm going to go with Fuzzy Nation by John Scalzi. I read this one at the beginning of this year. It was my first Scalzi novel, and now I see why he is so popular, because he is fantastic. It was full of so much humor, and I don't know, like I've said before, it's like a combination of Firefly and My Cousin Vinny, because there's like a courtroom drama scene and stuff. It was so great. Definitely a book that I will reread again and again because it was that good. Next is Pokemon, and this is a book edition that you really want to collect. It could be anything. It could be a classic or a newer edition of your favorite book series, things like that. For me, I'm going to go with the Tundra editions of the Anne of Green Gables series. I love these editions. They're only sold in Canada. I will get my hands on them at some point because I love them so much. They're so cute, and they just kind of capture the spirit of Anne so well, I think, and I cannot wait to get my hands on them. Next is Donkey Kong, and for this one you need to name a book series that has some very original characters, because what's more original than a fighting gorilla and his chimpanzee companion? I'm going to go with the Parasol Protector books by Gail Carriger. Some very original and witty characters. Alexia Terabody alone is fabulous, especially for a woman living in Victorian times. She's very strong-willed and just fantastic. So definitely going to have to go with this book. Some really great original characters in this series. And finally, the last question, not book related, but definitely Nintendo related, and it is the Nintendo fandom. For this one, you need to name your favorite Nintendo video game or video games. I have a couple. Number one is going to be Earthbound. This was a RPG that came out on the Super Nintendo. I loved it as a kid. They finally have it on the Virtual Console for the Wii, so you can check it out if you haven't done so already. This game was so original, and the storyline was fantastic. I absolutely adored it. Of course, I'm going to have to also go with the Zelda franchise, one of my all-time favorite action-adventure RPG games. I love it so much, especially the most recent Zelda. Skyward Sword was fantastic, and I cannot wait for the new Zelda game, and I'm really sad that they pushed it out a new year. There's always going to be tons of Nintendo games that I absolutely love. Those are just a couple of my favorites. It's too hard to choose. It's kind of like choosing your favorite book. Alright guys, that was it for the Nintendo tag. I hope you enjoyed this tag. I'm going to be tagging a lot of people, so be sure to look down in the description box, and I hope that you guys will do it because I would love to see you do this tag, particularly if you are as big of a Nintendo lover as I am. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, happy reading. Bye!